All right, back with Cheryl Pounder and Craig Button. If the regular season was over today, not only would the Jets be proud owners of the President's Trophy, they'd also have an all-Canadian matchup in round one against the Vancouver Canucks. What chance would you give Vancouver of knocking off Winnipeg in the playoffs?
Not much, I'll tell you that, because when you look at the Winnipeg Jets right now, Rod, they've been simply outstanding. And I don't think we've given them enough credit right from the onset of this year. Not only have they played like a group of professionals, but you talk about the back end. I mean, Connor Hellebuyck has been absolutely outstanding. You need a grade A goaltender like that who's likely going to win the Vezina again. You move to the blue line, you got Josh Morrissey, and then you got players like Dylan Sandberg who've outstanding this year in the details. Let's get to the front, shall we? I mean, we look at their lineup from top to bottom. You can talk about their top line or Nemestikov stepping in the second line, but I'm going to say that third line in particular, you want to win playoff rounds, you got to have a top third line. They have it. And when I look over at the other side and I look at the Vancouver Canucks, you look at a team that's finding it very difficult to generate any type of offense. Of course, you look at their top players. Yes, Pettersson is on a 4-game point streak, but you look at Besser really missing JT Miller in terms of a natural distributor, just not getting that offensive production. So when I look at their group, just not connected and synergized, and then a group like the Winnipeg Jets, first in the power play, first in goals against. You can look at the underlying metrics. I'm going directly to the Winnipeg Jets. Don't disagree with me, Mr. Button.
Cheryl, I'm not disagreeing with you, no way. I've learned some lessons. Back in 2021, I said that the Canadians had no chance to beat the Maple Leafs. In fact, the series might end in 3 games. Boy, did I have to eat a lot of crow. I'm not providing any bulletin board material. But when you look at this, the tail of the tape, shall we call it, you got a top defensive team, the Jets, against a weak offensive team, the Canucks. Then you have a top offensive team, the Jets, against a team that isn't very good defensively with respect to the Canucks. Best goalie in the league is on the Jets side. You talk about Morrissey, you talk about balance, you talk about size. Hey, can the Canucks win a game? Yeah, I don't see them having the ability to win a series against a really strong, well-balanced, playoff-hardened team. That's what Scott O'Neill has done this year for his Jets, and I think that the Jets have a great chance to go deep into the playoffs.
And I would think Winnipeg understands as well as everyone that no matter how you do in the regular season, playoffs are just a different animal. And 4 of their last 5 trips to the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Jets have been bounced in round 1, and in 3 of those times they lost in 5 games. Now, the core of the team really hasn't changed significantly over the years, still led in goal by Connor Hellebuyck, and they got Mark Scheifele up front. So, Cheryl, do you think that the past playoff disappointment sticks with them? Is there any concern about history here for Winnipeg?
Well, I think there's always some concern when you get to the playoffs, right? Especially when you're the hunted, not the hunter. And that's what happens in the playoffs when you are the numero uno and everyone's going after you. But when you look at this group collectively and the way they're playing up and down their lineup, you're looking like guys stepping up at the right time, whether it's Connor or Ehlers. Or look at the season that Scheifele's had. But Craig pointed out, it's the hardened Jets, finding a way to get to the middle of the ice. That's something I've really watched this year and how they've worked to get to the inside, not just get pushed to the outside, and that's playoff hockey. So I think this is a more physical team. They've added Shen on the back end, and if you look at him, if he is in your third pairing, you know there's a guy that can play physical as well. So when I look at it as a totality team, I'm looking at a group that I do believe will just go right for it right now, and I think there's a maturity to this group right now. There is a plain focus of what they want to accomplish, and not only being structurally sound defensively, I think really in the playoffs, it's who wins the slot game that winds up winning, and I believe that the Jets have the ability to control both the defensive and the offensive slot.
Losing is never easy, but losing also provides lessons. And I think this Jets team has learned valuable lessons, and it's been demonstrated in their play this season. And I think that everybody knew after they lost last year in 5 games at Colorado, really got vanquished quite easily, that they had to wait to prove their mettle, so to speak, coming into this year's playoffs. That's what the season has been about for them, preparation. And I think they're prepared to put the past failures behind them.
I just have to add, I wholeheartedly agree with you, Craig. And if you look at Colorado, you know, they had Nate McKinnon as well as Cale Makar. So you're looking from the back to the front, and they have to learn, right? You mature into figuring out different ways to adjust. And they've played the full gamut now. So you mentioned those guys, the maturity. I think they're ready.
Well, it could be a playoff preview. Well, they're meeting tonight, the Canucks and the Jets, and Winnipeg would be a deserving favorite, of course. But even if they go on and win the President's Trophy, I mean, history tells us that's not a guarantee of anything come playoff time. In fact, the last time a President's Trophy winner also won the Stanley Cup, that was 12 years ago, Chicago Blackhawks.